direction with 8. Got an interesting matchup coming up, partner.
Let's see who it is. The 12 seed.
One of 4 teams with at least 30 wins in the field, and this team has a dynamic duo.
There's a reason Christopher William Jewelers has been voted Best of Virginia year after year. It's not just one thing that sets us apart. It's everything. It's the selection, extensive and unmatched, with every engagement ring, loose diamond, and fashion jewelry chosen for quality and brilliance. It's the service. From our diamond experts to our master goldsmith, our team shares a passion for what they do, and it shows. It's the atmosphere, both glamorous and laid back. See for yourself why people can't stop talking about Christopher William Jewelers in Harrisonburg and Weir's Cave.
Heck yeah. Is Bennett frozen to start the podcast? He is. Welcome into the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. There's a frozen Bennett Conlon on the screen as well. The Dukes, we've known they're dancing, but now we know where it's going to be, who they're facing, and what seed they get. JMU, the selection show was a little earlier. They're going to Brooklyn, a Friday game as the 12 seed. They'll be taking on the 5th seeded Wisconsin Badgers out of the Big Ten. Wisconsin, fresh off of a Big Ten championship loss to Illinois. They got the 5 seed, and they didn't look too happy about pulling the Dukes in that draw. We saw their reaction right when JMU was announced. It's always a popular upset pick, picking the 12 to take down the 5. That's not going to be any different this year. Duke's already being pegged as a potential Sweet 16 run by Seth Davis on the CBS selection show. We're waiting for Bennett Conlon to join us. His internet is always wonky. And while we're waiting for him to join us, I'll read some ads. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all of your basketball wagering needs. You can bet on JMU to win the national championship right now, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. Up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends. You can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform at any time from your desktop or mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to become part of the team. And remember to use promo code BELIEVE. That's promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts and where this podcast starts now that Bennett has so graciously decided to join us. It's with a fresh, cold one from 3 Notched.
We love that. We love to hear that.
How you doing now that your internet's working?
Yeah, that's trash because I did like the full intro for like 15 seconds and had great energy. And you were like, yeah. You were like, whoa. And I was like, he loves the energy I'm bringing. Turns out my computer sucks anytime I have to use StreamYard.
Yeah, I just was talking at the jump about all the updates to the Kate Middleton drama. Because that's what this episode's for, right?
There's a lot going on there. We'll get into baseball for probably 30 minutes, right? Had a chance to win a series against Coastal. People were calling for an apology, and they couldn't hold on to a lead.
Man, they got it. They're dancing. They're the 12 seed, playing the 5 seed. Insane.
They're dancing, right? They're playing Wisconsin, which for a bit of a revenge game for me. My dad and brother both went there, right?
Big time revenge game.
I didn't get in.
You didn't get into Wisconsin? You didn't get into Wisconsin?
What better type of revenge can you get a decade or so later to be like, you don't think I'm smart enough? You don't think my extracurriculars in high school were good enough? Well, the school I went to just beat your men's basketball team on a neutral, right? That's everything. So big revenge game for me, obviously. A lot of importance there. And also, I think a winnable game. And then, the Dukes could play Duke in the next round. There's a lot of exciting stuff there.
Or Vermont. Don't sleep on Vermont.
Right, or Vermont. It's true.
We got a packed episode, though, today. We'll be breaking down the matchup with Wisconsin. We'll be sharing our thoughts, our feelings, everything like that. But we'll try and do a good dive into Wisconsin because, Bennett, you follow the Badgers at least a little bit because of your family ties, because you you are someone that once someone slights you, you want to just follow along with the rest of their lives. A big reason why you follow the Cavaliers so close of UVA.
I don't think they ever slighted me, though. I think they were all very nice to me.
Yeah, they were very nice to you. But it's just fun to make fun of UVA in any possible way. They're a first four team. Couldn't be us. But Daniel Merriman was at the watch party at the Atlantic Union Bank Center. So we have some great sound bites from Daniel that we'll sprinkle in throughout the show, kind of get the reactions to it. Bennett, I'll let you drive the ship here. Where do you want to take this start of the podcast? Do you want to dive into some sound bites to start, or do you want to break down this matchup against the 5th seeded Badgers?
I'll start here with a slight that I have. JMU getting a 12. Kind of feel like...
Really? You think that's I thought I was expecting a 12 this whole time. Not saying like I
thought an 11 was very possible. I know that there were a lot of bid stealers. Duquesne at 11 is embarrassing. That is a joke. They're like 86 in Ken Palm. Weren't even near the bubble. Them at an 11, I think, is one of the dumber things I've seen. Thought an 11 would have been there. I don't think 12 is a huge slight, but with Duquesne at 11 had me kind of perplexed.
I saw someone tweet that the committee just got lazy. VCU was a good 11 seed, and then when Duquesne beat them, they were just like, okay, we're not going to rework that part of it. Will those be an 11? I feel really bad for Indiana State because that would have been JMU if JMU hadn't won the Sun Belt tournament. It was the Indiana State, I believe, was 29th in the net. They are now the highest ever team to miss the tournament. And it's just a shame because we're not going to be able to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, well, should have won your conference tournament.
All right. We don't need that argument, but I really wasn't that slighted by the 12. I kind of enjoy it because I think it gave, especially I believe Wisconsin is a very winnable game. Throw out the seeds wise, I think Wisconsin may have been one of the better draws that JMU could have gotten. And I think it then lends itself to a favorable 4-13 matchup between either Duke or Vermont. I'm not that high on the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I mean, Duke would get waxed if they have to face JMU.
Well, I mean, the plural of their name would win, right? Like Dukes is therefore greater than a singular Duke.
I also like that the draw, in all seriousness here, I like that the draw gives them a Power 5 team because the other 5 seeds, if I'm not mistaken, were San Diego State, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga.
Great timing again. Bennett was in the middle of a fantastic point, and we lose him. While Bennett is frozen and away, we'll take this time to jump over to a quick little one-on-one conversation that Daniel Merriman had with Julian Wooden right after the Dukes learned that they'd be facing off against Wisconsin in the first round of the NCAA tournament, a 5-12 matchup with the Badgers. This is Daniel Merriman with Julian Wooden.
Hello, this is Daniel Merriman here with Julian Wooden. Tell me, how are you feeling about that Wisconsin matchup? You excited?
Yeah, we're super excited. We're just going to take it one game at a time and just kind of prep this week and just get ready for them.
All right, fantastic. This is also a game on the East Coast in Brooklyn. There was a couple of options within the same time zone. How big of a deal is it to have this game relatively close to home and have some fans hopefully in attendance as well?
Yeah, that's huge. We rely on our fans a lot, so we know a lot of them are going to come out and support and come to New York loud. Hopefully that's what they do, and hopefully we'll bring that energy as well.
Excellent. And Wisconsin, this is a Big Ten team. You've already faced one this season with Michigan State, who you won against on opening night. They have tremendous size. They just got off of a championship game appearance in the Big Ten. What is it like to have a Power 6 conference matchup in a tournament like this where you all get to, again, prove yourselves more and more against a marquee matchup?
Yeah, it feels good. This team's always about competing, so that's all we're going to take it as. So, yeah, we're super excited. I know I'm excited personally. Just can't wait to start prepping and kind of see what they really got.
You came into this program in a much different state than it's currently in. You've been here for 5 years, the winningest player in program history. What's it like to be able to cap it off with an NCAA tournament experience?
Yeah, it's huge. That was always the main goal when I first come to college. I always wanted to go to NCAA and just experience the whole thing. Exactly what we went through, that was cool. So, yeah, it's been huge. I still haven't really wrapped my head around it, but it's been fun so far.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck in Brooklyn, and hopefully you can add another W to that record of how many wins JMU players can get. Much appreciated, Julian. Take care.
Bennett's back.
Yeah, I'm trying to hotspot now. We'll see how that goes. Probably.
All right. If you cut out again, if you cut out again, we'll just go to another soundbite. But that was Daniel Merriman with Julian Wooden. You heard there wouldn't he came into the program when it was maybe at its lowest in quite some time, and he stuck through with JMU, and now he's being rewarded with a trip to the NCAA tournament, heading to Brooklyn. What was your point though before you froze about the mid majors?
Nice to have a power conference team. I thought Daniel hit on that pretty well with his questions. He always does a great job asking questions. I thought those were on point. I think it's cool, like if your season has to end in the NCAA tournament, like San Diego State, right? They just played for a national championship last year. Gonzaga's played for a national championship very recently. So, mid-majors in quotes there, but playing a team from the Big Ten, which is sort of like the Power Two, at least in terms of finances at this point, I think is a pretty big deal, right? If you can get that win, you add, right, they obviously have a Power Five win in football this year. They already do have the men's basketball Power Five win. You can get an NCAA tournament win over a Big Ten team. It would do a lot, I think, for the program and sort of the athletic department's standing. I think it's more fun to play a power conference team if you have the chance to do it. Yeah,
looking around, you got Dayton and Nevada. Dayton, big A10 cusp of being a mid-major, but Dayton, Nevada, you got St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, San Diego State, UAB, JMU, like you said, kind of one of the only ones that got a Power Five team in that draw, kind of a mid-major team that has a potential to make a second weekend run, getting a Power Five team. I also think it's really big that they're playing a Big Ten team because they already, like you said, they already beat a Big Ten team. They know what it takes. Michigan State and Wisconsin, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they're necessarily leaps and bounds different in terms of the players they have on their roster. Like, I think they are two good Big Ten teams that pose different types of issues, but at the end of the day, it's not like you're playing UConn. It's not like you're playing, Iowa State. I'm high on Iowa State, by the way.
Well, Wisconsin's good, but they're probably not, right, like a national championship contender. But when they're hot, they're good. When they're off, they can be ugly. Really off. They had a bad February. Yeah.
This is a team that in Wisconsin, we'll dive into the matchup here a little bit. If JMU, and this is a huge if, but if they can control tempo just a little bit, if they can hit their season average of threes or maybe even a little less below their season average, they have a real shot at winning this. Right now, they're a 5-point underdog, according to Ken Palm. DraftKings has some early lines out. Our friends over at Bet Online, be sure to use promo code BELIEVE when you sign up to get a 50% welcome bonus. They have the lines out already for JMU, Wisconsin. It's hovering around a 4 to 5 point spread, depending on who you use. But if JMU can get their 3-point offense going, they have a real shot to pull off this upset because Wisconsin, the 345th ranked 3-point defense in the nation.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin has this reputation of being like Virginia because they play slowly. They're much different than Virginia this year. They're not quite as good defensively. I think they're 47th in Ken Palm, but they're legit offensively. They play slowly on offense, but they have dudes who can score. So they're not quite Virginia. I think it's a style that JMU can hang with if they can, trade baskets and stuff. I think it'll be kind of an interesting matchup. It's a winnable game, but it's also, I know there are some people who are like, oh, JMU Sweet 16, and people are all stamp it. It's going to be a hard game to win. Wisconsin's got guys who can play.
And then I was poo-pooing Duke earlier, but Duke would also then be a very tough game because, they got actual NBA guys.
Yeah, they've got some legit players. It's a fun draw.
Yeah,
it's a potential to be a really fun couple of days.
Very fun draw. Do you think App State is sitting at home watching the NIT selection show right now, punching air because Wisconsin is one of the worst teams in the nation in terms of getting their shots blocked?
Yeah, I think they probably would have loved. They would kill for this matchup, right? Yeah, it's like their one offensive weakness is they get stuff swatted all the time. They don't block any shots. I think App State would be a really fun matchup against Wisconsin. But
yeah, but instead they're sitting at home waiting for the NIT draw, hoping they get a favorable look in the NIT.
Yeah, good for them.
Good for them. But what are you expecting out of this game against Wisconsin? An all right defensive team, but an electric offensive team that really drains clock. They have one of the slowest offenses in the entire nation.
Big boys. They got some size, man. So they've got Stephen Crowell, who I think is one of he's a Wisconsin big man. He kind of checks all the boxes for Wisconsin big men over the years. 7 feet tall. He's not going to like wow you with athleticism, but he can hit threes. Wisconsin big men, I feel like they love to like pivot in the post. Like a lot of just work on that, that footwork. Go to work with just moving your feet and putting them in the right spot. That's kind of what he does. So he's a really solid player at 7 feet. It'll be interesting to see Bickerstaff and Carey try to defend him. Tyler Wall, kind of like a crafty forward who can't shoot, but can score twos, which is also sort of like a Wisconsin stereotypical player. And then they have, I think the thing that makes Wisconsin like different some years is if they happen to have like 2 to 3 players who could play in the NBA and are good athletes. And this year they have those players. So they've got Chucky Hepburn at guard, who's a really talented player, can sort of get things going. But AJ Storr, they got him in the transfer portal from St. John's, 6'7", 205. He has some highlight reel dunks this year that are legit, shoots over 30% from 3, just an elite offensive player. He's really fun to watch. And then John Blackwell, a freshman for them, is another superstar athlete. So they've got really athletic wings, ton of size in the post. And then they've got guards who are pretty solid in Chucky Hepburn and Max Klesmit. So they're a tough team, but they also go through some shooting lulls. And when they do that, they can look pretty ugly.
I'm so excited for it. In Brooklyn, it's going to be a good time. Daniel Merriman, he talked with TJ Bickerstaff about that physicality that Wisconsin brings and kind of the difference in rebounding and playing down low against a Big Ten team, specifically one like Wisconsin.
When you speak about that 3-0 versus tournament teams, one of those is Michigan State, which is in the Big Ten, same as Wisconsin, has some incredible size, just like Wisconsin does. That Michigan State game, you open up the year, you're playing some of your best basketball at the time. I believe you had 14 boards, a double-double. What is that physicality like at the Power 5 level, being a former ACC player, and how do you kind of prepare for the size and physicality that's going to come against a big opponent like Wisconsin?
Like I said, it's a mindset thing because I already have the strength and like athleticism as a Power 5 player. So it's all mindset. Like, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want this rebound? How bad do you want to score, hustle down the floor, stuff like that? It all comes down to the mindset at the end of the day.
How big of a game does TJ Bickerstaff need to have if the Dukes want to get this win? Is he as important as, Michael Green maybe going 4 for 7?
Yeah, I think Bickerstaff's going to be huge, and just how they defend the post, because you've got Crowell and Wall both shoot over 55% from 2, and they both taken over 200 twos. Like, they shoot a lot and they're very efficient. So you got a 7-footer, Wall's 6'9", and then Storr on the wing, who has like point guard, shooting guard skills, is 6'7". So I am interested to see what they do defensively. You need Bickerstaff to be good, but Wooden's going to have to defend really well. I think Horton makes a lot of sense to go up against Storr if you can get that matchup, because he seems like your most athletic wing defender. Terrence Edwards is going to need to play really well defensively. It's going to be a test because they can shoot, they can score down low, they can do a lot of things. So Bickerstaff's going to need to play very, very well.
An interesting thing looking over the Wisconsin roster as well, they only have one guy above 6'9" who gets a lot of minutes, which normally when you're playing a Power 5 team, there is typically some more size that comes with it. So granted, it is Stephen Crowell, who is one of the best players in the nation in terms of offensive rating. So it is tough regardless, but kind of, does it feel lucky or am I crazy for thinking that it feels lucky that we didn't pull a team that had like 2 6'10" players and a 7-foot center?
I don't know. I mean, Wall's 6'9", so he's close to 6'10". Crowell's 7 feet and can hit threes. I think that's maybe my bigger concern. My bigger concern is that I feel like Bickerstaff and Carey can legit hold their own, like, in the post with those guys. They haven't faced a lot of bigs in the Sun Belt, which makes sense, right? Who are 7 feet tall and can like splash threes.
Really?
Not a lot of those.
Those guys don't land. Those guys don't land in the Sun Belt.
For whatever reason, they're getting recruited to different leagues. But I think it's going to be interesting because if you get one of those guys like in foul trouble, and that's the other thing in March Madness, right? Sometimes you get like refs who are like, "Oh, I made the NCAA tournament too. I'm going to put on a show today." So if you have some of that and you get like ticky-tack fouls, it'll be interesting. If you let them bang, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I'm excited. And Wisconsin has played Nolan Winter a little bit more recently. He's a 6'11" guy that they've sort of thrown in there who looks like he could use another year in the weight room, to be honest. But make some plays when he's in. It's going to be a fascinating matchup. But Bickerstaff, right? He played at the Power 5 level. So I think he's, as far as mid-major bigs go, I think you got to have some confidence that he can hold his own.
He's also an experienced NCAA tournament player. He made an appearance early in his career with Drexel.
Yep. And then you got Horton played last year, right, with College of Charleston in the first round. Interesting. And then I think the thing about Wisconsin that stands out a lot is like they're super solid. Like they're a good team. AJ Store's kind of like the one guy who can maybe take over. Like, I don't think you're going into this game like, oh my God, we're facing Stephen Crowell. Like Bickerstaff could hold his own against him and get his own. Store is a freak athlete who can get to the rim and do a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's a little bit terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to play Horton for like 30 minutes, I don't think.
Yeah. Daniel Merriman put in the comments, Bickerstaff said that the tendencies of Power 6 players is pretty easy to identify. He looked like he was licking his chops talking about Wisconsin.
I think it's an exciting matchup for him. He can certainly hold his own.
So I want to backtrack, rewind a little bit, go back to the seeding talk because you froze on us and kind of left when we were diving into the seeding talk. JMU gets a 12 seed. I'm going to play a quick soundbite from Mark Byington about this placement as a 12 seed, and then we'll kind of break down a bit about what that 12 seed necessarily means when you zoom out and look at it from the big picture.
The 12 seed says that if you guys hadn't won, you wouldn't have gotten your name called today. Just even conference-wide, does that kind of strike you the wrong way?
Yeah, I wish we were in a better position as a league and as a team to not have that pressure. And the goal is definitely having two teams in there. And we got to rise up as a league. And I've said it, and we got some plans, trying to put some plans in place. And I think if we didn't get in, we might have been the first 30-win team ever not to get in. I'm glad we don't have to worry about that. Coming in tonight, we knew we were in. We just had to find out our destination.
So if they didn't win the Sun Belt tournament, do you think they would have been on the outside looking in? And do you think that's what the 12 seed tells JMU and the fans?
Yeah, definitely. I think because the play-in game this year is the 10 seeds. So if you have a seed that's worse,
man, Bennett's Wi-Fi
winning your conference even bit close.
Oh wait, you're back. Let's go.
Am I back?
What'd you say? You froze right when you started talking about the 10 seed play-in.
10 seed play-in, so JMU is a worse spot than the 10, even with beating Arkansas State to win the conference tournament. So if they had lost that game, I don't think it would have even been a conversation.
I believe tip-off times have come out.
Yeah, so I might have to go to this game. 9:40 on a Friday.
Are you heading up to Brooklyn? That's also that seems like a really late East Coast tip time.
Probably the latest tip of that's probably the last game or one of the two last games of the entire.
And they have it tipping on the East Coast. Why don't you tip that at the West Coast?
So that we can go.
I can't go.
What are you doing?
I have to call a Queens men's volleyball match on Thursday and Saturday.
Right. That's not a Friday.
I can't think this game. No, I can't get up to New York State to Brooklyn down.
Find a way.
But okay, so tip-off time is Friday at 9:40 p.m. That's a freaking late game.
Man, that's fucking tempting.
Nova Knows Ball says it's a great time for the working class.
Yes, it is.
That's not wrong, but holy hell.
Oh, that could be fun. Okay.
That is so late. I mean, I'm going to stay up, but I was really hoping for a good, no, I was hoping for a noon type of tip.
Oh, man. Okay, that changes everything.
All right, Bennett is now stop paying attention to the podcast. He's now booking his flight as we speak.
Man. That's a late one, though. That'll be interesting.
That's the latest tip of the year for JMU.
How do you feel about this game? You feel like it's a win coming?
Yeah, 100%. Why would I not? I think, and these are really big ifs, and of course you can figure out and bend your mind in any way possible to try and think that you can win. Wisconsin's 3-point defense for a majority of this season has been really bad. Michael Green is really good in non-conference games. And you know what this game is? Say it with me on 3. 1, 2, 3. Non-conference. And it's also a borough away from his home. He from the Bronx. This is in the Brooklyn.
I didn't even consider the X factor here.
This could be the X factor. Xavier Brown had 21 in the first half against Arkansas State. Michael Green may have 45 in the first half.
You might go for 50. Yeah.
This is a homecoming for Michael Green. Not only that, it's a non-conference game, and Wisconsin can't defend the 3-point line. Oh, come on. I think JMU wins.
Wisconsin went 3-8 in the regular season, starting on February 1st. So their last 11 regular season games, 3-8. Only wins were at home against Ohio State, Maryland, and Rutgers. None of those teams made the NCAA tournament. They sort of flipped that a little bit here in the Big Ten tournament, right? They beat Maryland, Northwestern, and Purdue and lost to Illinois in the championship. So maybe they have a little more momentum than they had previously. That's a pretty bad record, though, from the start of February 1st.
Yeah.
For a 5 seed.
Yeah. I mean, they're really riding they were ranked pretty high early on in conference play.
They were 16-4 at one point. Like, they were playing great basketball. They had wins over Marquette and
weird. That's 16-4 at one point. That's more losses than JMU had the entire season.
That's right. Same strength of schedule as well.
The exact same strength of schedule. So from there, let's break it down a few more quotes. This is going to be from Terrence Edwards, and then we'll finish out with a quote from Mark Byington. But this is talking about the pressure that the guys may face heading into these games and how they plan to deal with the pressure. This is Terrence Edwards. As I click around.
Like I said, we've been dealing with that since Michigan State. I feel like the pressure has been there. It was hard ignoring it for the first 5-6 games, but we all came together and we all found a way to keep the outside noise and stay together and ignore everybody from the outside and just lock in on what we got to do. So we feel like pressure is who we have turned into. We're built for pressure. We already showed that. We just can't wait to get out there.
Also, I should have said before we started listening to these sound bites, count the amount of coach talk, the amount of cliches that are dropped, because it is absolutely electric.
Terrence had a hilarious quote, I think after they beat Arkansas State, where he was like, going in the Michigan State game, I don't even know if we thought we could win. And then Friedel knocked down the opening 3, and I was like, we can beat anybody. And I was like, well, he was easily swayed. Opening bucket, he's like, never mind, it's over. We're legit.
We're only losing 3 games this season. Did you see that? This is a complete side tangent. Did you see the video of the Nebraska player?
What did he
do? There's a question. How early in the game do you know that you're going to have a good game? And his quote is the first shot.
He's a baller.
Same thing from Terrence, though. Terrence, how do you think the season's going to go? I mean, it could go either way. Use a bunch of new guys. Noah hits the shot. It's over. We won it all.
It's like, we're good. God, what a matchup. I like this matchup. I do think they pose some challenges to Wisconsin. Obviously, the pace that JMU plays at, I think, is an interesting challenge. The fact that they shoot threes so well. And Wisconsin finds whether they're bad or good is their 3-point shooting offense. When they're beating teams looking like a top 2 seed, like a top 10 team nationally, they're banging threes. They were woeful from beyond the arc during that losing streak, really inconsistent from 3. JMU defends the 3 better than just about any team in the country. So there's a lot of reasons to like the matchup. I think they've got some mismatches. I'm interested to see how they guard Wooden and who's on him. I think that'll be a good one. I think Bickerstaff is probably a little bit quicker laterally than Crowell. So do you put Tyler Wall on him at times? Probably not, because the Dukes aren't that big. So then you would have Crowell guarding Wooden, which would be a mistake. So I think their overall athleticism and speed is actually going to pose some challenges especially in the front court.
I'm excited. I think it's a winnable matchup.
I think it's a winnable matchup. And if they get Duke, there's just nothing to lose if you get Duke.
I mean, there's nothing to lose in this game.
Yeah.
I think this is why you see so many low majors like JMU coming out of the Sun Belt. these teams that are very talented. You may even see with McNeese or even Samford. Those are two other kind of trendy upset picks. But they're coming out of their conference tournament. The whole goal of the season for those teams is to win the conference tournament. Once you make it to the NCAA, you're playing with house money. And it is just, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't, if you lose by 20, no one would look at JMU and be like, you blew your shot. No, everyone would be like, man, what a good game by Wisconsin. Shame JMU couldn't like hold up. They won the Sun Belt though. Do you think it matters at all? Terrence was talking about it in that soundbite. They have had to deal with this pressure. They beat Michigan State. They had the whole nation's attention looking at them. They then came back with a miraculous double overtime win against Kent State where they could have packed it in. And then even more of the country's looking at them. They get ranked. Mark Byington talked to us about that in our YouTube interview we have up over on JMU Sports News YouTube, where this team was ranked in the AP top 25. They beat Michigan State. They've played with a lot of pressure. They knew, kind of coming out with the quotes after today's selection show, seems like they knew going into Pensacola that they had to win the Sun Belt tournament to get in to the NCAA tournament. Does that impact this at all?
Raekwon Horton shooting like 70% from two. I didn't realize that. Another mismatch. Well, here's
your
my
facial
question.
expression when I was going on that rant was
How do you
really
shoot
scary.
70% from two as a wing? But my question for you, I'm going to answer your question by asking you a question.
Okay.
Is there pressure on JMU?
I don't think there is. Why would there be?
So they've dealt with the pressure. This feels like the first time they've been an underdog since the Michigan. This is great, right?
I think so. And like, not only that, then the matchups and everything. Raekwon Horton apparently shooting 70% from
who knew?
two. Now as we're talking about it more and more, and I want, if you're listening, drop in the comments where you think JMU will make it. Will they make it to the second weekend? Will they make an Elite Eight run? The third weekend run? Drop in the comments where you're thinking, because I think this team is an Elite Eight caliber team.
I think the other interesting thing, the 1 seed in their region. So if we really want to just like,
let's dive in. Let's see. Okay, let's look at the draw. I'm going to pull up the bracket while you talk about this.
Bit of a fever dream here, but it's a Houston team that's very, very good, but also just got murdered in its conference championship game against Iowa State. Looked a little bit vulnerable. The 8-9 matchup that they could face after that will be a bit of a challenge. So once you get through a few games, there is some potential for some upsets that could create a favorable path.
Yeah, so if they beat Wisconsin, they take on the winner of Duke or Vermont. And then that upper half of the bracket, they could be facing off against Nebraska, Texas A&M, Longwood, or Houston. I like them all to win all of those.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. So we're in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Then let's look at it down here. So then you got Texas Tech, NC State, Kentucky, Oakland, Florida, Boise State or Colorado, Marquette, Western Kentucky. I'm going to say coming out of that, it's going to be Marquette.
Sure. We'll say Marquette gets through.
JMU, I like the draw. I mean, Shaka Smart, he has a soft spot for mid-majors from Virginia. Does he throw it? Temple's being investigated for point shaving. I'm not saying it's running rampant in college basketball, but I'm not saying it's not happening.
Right. People are wondering. Right. A lot of questions going on.
I think Marquette would be hard.
I think Marquette's an easy dub. So now you're in the Final Four.
Okay, there we go. All right, Fever, dream it up. And then down here in the bottom half of the bracket, you're not playing Purdue. They're losing in the first weekend.
Yeah, they're done quick.
They're done probably against Utah State in the second game. And then you're looking around maybe Gonzaga now that they're playing with house money doesn't have a run. Tennessee probably is going to be done quick because Rick Barnes can't play.
Right, Rick Barnes. I forgot about Rick Barnes. Maybe does Virginia, Tony Bennett, the 10 seed, go on a run?
No.
They've got some interesting stuff they do. I saw where they actually don't make free throws as a team, which I thought was an interesting strategy. That's very cool. And then
I knew
if you have fouls to give,
I knew a shot.
They just won't do it. He's a genius, though, right?
Man. So
they worship the ground he walks on. He won't foul up three with like 5 fouls to give. Unbelievable.
You have a deep-seated disdain for UVA basketball.
I just don't like the way they revere him, and then he does dumb stuff, and they're like, what is he doing? It's like, I don't know. Why doesn't somebody ask him?
But then at the bottom of the bracket, you're not playing the 1 or the 2 in the Final Four.
Yeah, so gosh, nobody gets out of that bracket. That bracket sucks.
Yeah, so
Akron again? 14 seed Akron again?
Yeah, maybe. That's a free win in the Final Four, let's be honest.
So who are they playing in the national? Probably UConn, right?
Maybe Duquesne. Overseeded Duquesne.
I wouldn't mind a little Dukes versus Dukes national title.
Sponsored by Duke's Mayo.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, it seems like I think worst case scenario, you're like a 9 or 10 point dog to UConn in the championship.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario.
Anything less, I think you have to have a serious conversation about Byington.
In all seriousness, back to realness.
Okay.
Do you think this team has like a deep run capability, or do you think this is like a win, get lucky to win 2, and just be happy to be in the Sweet 16? Like, what is your actual feeling on this? Because I think 1 win isn't my expectation, but like I would love 1 win.
That's kind of where I feel. I feel like if you get the 1, I don't know how great the matchup is with Duke. I don't think it would be great, to be honest with you. Although they've lost 2 in a row, but I think like Filipowski is obviously hard to guard. They're a more athletic team than they're like
Wisconsin.
more pros than Wisconsin, so that would be tough. And also Wisconsin's good. I think it's winnable, but like to get through them and to get through probably Duke and to get through another quality, like it's gonna be really hard to make a deep run. But it's hard for everyone, right? It's the NCAA tournament. Everyone outside of like the 15 and 16 seeds are usually pretty good. And even then, the 15 and 16s, especially in recent years, have shown themselves to be kind of dangerous. So you're in the dance. That's all you ask for. You got a chance. I would love to see this team have a chance at Duke in the second round. I'm excited to see how they go against Wisconsin, because if we look back to the Michigan State game, they've had so few games this year with like real juice, right? I know they've been ranked in some games, but like the Sun Belt doesn't bring that much juice. App State maybe, but like they were talking a lot of trash to Michigan State night 1 of the season. Like you better believe they're going to be talking a lot to Wisconsin and Duke if they get, like, I would love to see this team with a chip on their shoulder win or go home against power conference teams. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Xavier Brown was talking a lot of trash against Arkansas State and maybe their juiciest game of the season outside of Michigan State in the Sun Belt Tournament final. He hits that first 3, he starts yapping to the bench. Imagine if Xavier Brown starts 2 for 2, which is not a high bar to clear.
Right. They're also deep, which I think is interesting, where like if, hey, somebody's struggling a bit, you can bring in Randleman even to run some stuff at point.
They're deep at certain spots. They're not deep at the 5, which does worry me. That if you were mentioning it earlier about the referees, some of them get into the NCAA tournament and make it the ref show. I do worry if Bickerstaff and or Carey get into early foul trouble, how that then impacts the game, how that throws off the game plan. Because after Bickerstaff, after Carey, you're running with Jarrell Roberson, who has not had any minutes over the last like 2 months of the season outside of a garbage time here and there.
That's definitely the big concern, right? If you get some fouls at the 5 spot. But I think the nice thing about it is if they can stay in manageable foul trouble, if Bickerstaff's not having a great scoring stretch, you can lean on Carey a little more or vice versa. They've got some option there, but yeah, foul trouble for the bigs, possible weakness to monitor. But I feel like they've done a reasonable job recently of avoiding that. But I guess, yeah, a lot of it depends on the ref.
So does it also worry? I know we've been hyping up about the advantageous matchups in this game, how JMU can win. JMU struggled to rebound against Texas State and Arkansas State. Specifically, they allowed a lot of offensive rebounds. Wisconsin's not necessarily the best offensive rebounding team. They're 119th in the nation. They get an offensive rebound on 30.5% of their possessions. Does it worry you that the Dukes kind of had a bit of that issue, some of those struggles their last few games? And do you think that may bleed over into the NCAA tournament?
Rebounding is going to be real big. That's where I was talking about Tyler Wall, like can't shoot the ball. but he still is like a starter for them. It's kind of why. Like he can score in the post, and his effort and his rebounding are legit. 6'9". So yeah, they're gonna have to put a body on him. They're gonna have to rebound well. I've watched a lot of Wisconsin games over the years, and they can get you and go on a nice little run, but they can also just lay so many eggs, and they've laid a lot of eggs in February and March this season where they just look completely out of sorts and they don't live up to the moment under Greg Gard. It's happened before. Wouldn't be shocked if it happens again. So they're certainly capable of winning. They could go on a little run. But if you told me I could pick any of the 5 seeds or any of the 4 seeds or even any of the 6 seeds, I would pick like South Carolina and Wisconsin.
South Carolina.
So if you had to get a 5, right? I don't want St. Mary's.
No, they're good.
I don't want San Diego State or Gonzaga. You tell me you can get Wisconsin of the 5s? Yes. Thank you. The team that has like a losing record since the start of February. Yeah.
3-8. And I know you said it. 3-8 since February.
And then they did better in the conference tournament, which got them to like 6-9.
Which is good
bad.
Still.
Right? And JMU's won 13 in a row.
And I'm not saying that the Purdue win isn't meaningless, but was Purdue playing for were they giving it their 100% to win the Big Ten tournament? I sound like an old man. Like
it seemed like they were.
Yeah, they probably were.
You go back and watch some of those highlights, they kind of pulled that thing out of their butt. Wisconsin did. Like barely forced overtime. Now, Zach Edey gets ridiculous foul calls. So, right, maybe there's something there if they can get a ref that gives them some beneficial stuff. They also love to take a charge. So I'm interested to see how that gets called.
Yeah, because JMU is known for recklessly throwing passes and continuing to run with no regard for human life and getting a lot of charges. We've seen that on multiple times this season.
Gosh, what a matchup, man. This is if they can guard Storr reasonably well, that's going to be the key. Because if you're talking about height, the matchup that makes the most sense, right, is Horton, but then also Edwards. So you got to get your best player, Sunbelt Player of the Year. If he locks in defensively on Storr, it becomes a lot more fun because the other guys on Wisconsin aren't as scary individually as Storr.
Yeah. We have one last soundbite from Mark Byington talking about the pressure of the game.
Coach, this year you've talked about playing cool when the chips are down. Your team has been clutch all year and has dealt with pressure constantly since week 1. How has that prepared your squad to be able to take on an NCAA tournament game and team?
Yeah, we had to deal with pressure pretty quickly. And, you win the first game at Michigan State and then a crazy overtime game at Kent State, and we're in the top 25. And when you're in the top 25, there is added pressure there, and you can't deny that. And we dealt with that in the league play. And the different streaks and everything else is always pressure. I like it. I like the fact that we've had to learn to deal with it. It's not anything new for us. The NCAA tournament, it's pressure, but this is fun. And we're going to make sure we remember this is fun. Let's prepare hard. Let's go play our best.
I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
They're going to win, man. I'm so excited. Tracy Wolfson added me to her JMU list. That's a big win for me.
Wow, that's big time.
Yeah,
Tracy Wolfson, Iron Eagle. Yeah, you got to stop tweeting about Tracy Wolfson.
Oh, is she doing that?
Yeah, the crew is Iron Eagle, Bill Rafferty, Grant Hill, and Tracy Wolfson.
Yes, we should get Tracy on the pod.
I got some contacts still at CBS. You want me to try and pull some strings? I was thinking for Iron Eagle, but that's fine.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, let's just get Bill Rafferty. You know what I really want to know from Bill Rafferty?
What?
Why onions?
Do you
think he was you think he was walking through the grocery store and he was like, shallots, and it just didn't fit? Or,
well, it's a way to describe,
But why is that a known thing? Did Bill Rafferty start that?
I'm not sure if onions was something that he created or something else, but it feels like it would probably a little closer to accurate than shallots. But
what about cucumbers? Because that's also.
That's not. I guess you could do, but not multiple cucumbers. If one guy is making a shot, it's just a cucumber.
What about?
You could have done a lot of different fruits or vegetables.
What about potatoes?
A little misshapen compared to an onion, but Might need to get something checked out.
What about eggplant?
The eggplant would have been a good one.
Eggplant.
Maybe you can start working that into some of your broadcasts.
Eggplant.
Somebody for Charlotte, it's a home run.
That is 8:49 p.m. on a Sunday after a weekend series for Charlotte, and I'm tired. Anything else you want to hit on this matchup before we quickly touch on baseball, I guess, and softball and get up on out of here?
This is a great matchup. I know they played well in the Big Ten tournament. I watched them in that. Wisconsin was lighting it up from 3. But I feel like the Big Ten tournament is a lot like looser because you're in the field. So it's like, hey, let's get our rhythm back. There's a little bit of, a little puckering that could go on when you're in the NCAA tournament. It's win or go home.
Yeah, some
you got
puckering.
Scrappy mid-major.
I
also like that it's late on Friday.
Why do you like that?
That feels like
so
a huge
late.
advantage.
How is that an advantage? They're the one that's an hour behind. It's 8:40 on their own body clock.
Dukes are built for that.
9:40.
Wisconsin's playing a lot of afternoon games in the Big Ten tournament. Their body clock completely out of sorts. They were playing today. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Oh, coach,
I did see some JMU fans say like, Dukes haven't played. Dukes are going to be more well rested going into. Rest is out the window. They got a whole week now, 5 days to prepare for this
Friday
game.
night. Yeah, it's a long rest.
College kids after 2 days, I think, are back to being fully rested.
God, I'm so excited.
Although this mini bye has come at a great time.
You think they win?
I guess we got to go there. Final score prediction. Hit me.
75-72.
75-32.
72. If they win 75-32, I'm gonna drive to my brother's house and then my dad's and be like, eat it. So if they win by 40, kidding me?
I'm gonna say JMU wins. I think they control tempo. I think they hit some early shots that forces Wisconsin to have to try and get out of their slow tempo and go to JMU's. And I think JMU wins 82-77.
Yeah, it just, Wisconsin had a great season. They should be very proud of what they accomplished. It's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. One of the teams has 31 wins. The other one has 22. What? That's not very good.
Wisconsin has 10 more losses than JMU does. You hate to see that.
Wisconsin lost more games from February 1st through February 10th than JMU has lost all season.
Put that. When you're going through the ESPN tournament challenge, pick them, and you hit the little button to like show you the recap of both teams. That's got to be the little blurb on Wisconsin.
I do love the strength of schedule difference. Ken Pom has Wisconsin at 3rd, and JMU would be 293rd.
So the same.
Just a little different.
This is the first. I lost my train of thought. It's the first tournament appearance since 2022 for Wisconsin. They got to the second round in that one. They have not made it out of the first weekend since 2017.
Yeah, they've been kind of on a bit of a lull where they're getting some first round wins, but not going much deeper than that. One point, though, I will say here that is definitely noteworthy in a game I think could be highly competitive. Wisconsin, very, very solid from the free throw line, 40th nationally. JMU, 258th nationally. Hit some clutch free throws down the stretch against Texas State, right? Friedel and Brown with the free throw golf. So maybe a couple rounds of free throw golf this week we'll have them prepped because that could be a big one in a close game down the stretch.
Yeah, and you see it always play into it, and that's why you get so much crazy endings in March Madness because people just don't make their free throws. The NCAA tournament, the lights are a little brighter. Insert whatever cliche you want there. That's one of my personal favorites, so that's the one I'm going to go with. Dukes will play Wisconsin on Friday, 9:40 p.m. Eastern. Keep it locked to jmusportsnews.com. We'll try and get some more interviews throughout the week. We'll see what we can do. So keep it locked to our YouTube. We'll have some previews, some written stuff being dropped throughout the week, and keep it locked to our Instagram and Twitter at JMU Sports News. You can find us JMU Sports News everywhere. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, do whatever you got to do on whatever platform you're listening to. We appreciate it. And The Dukes are dancing. The Dukes are a 12 seed. They'll take on the 5th seeded Wisconsin Badgers. Before we get up on out of here, do you want to hit baseball at all? You want to hit Diamond Dukes? Or do you want to save that for a later podcast?
We can do that quick. Also, the game will be on CBS. Very cool.
Big time. Big time. First time that JMU has played on CBS. I'm going to go out on a limb and say ever.
Who could say? Probably someone in the athletic.
Probably
department.
Kevin Warner.
Yeah.
And that tweet's probably coming in the next 15 minutes.
Probably accurate. Okay, yeah. Do you want to apologize for baseball almost beating Coastal Carolina and winning the series? Or will you almost apologize?
I will almost apologize. Just like the apology was 2 runs up with 2 outs down to the last strike, almost coming out of my mouth. And then just like Coastal Carolina with a bases clearing triple, it then left away. Dukes, they won the Saturday game. They forced a rubber match today against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, picking up a win down in Conway, South Carolina. It is a very good thing. They were competitive for a majority of the Friday game, and then 2 grand slams late in that game against Coastal blew it open. They were extremely competitive today, an extra innings loss. But overall, JMU baseball, they got to win a series in Sunbelt. I know that was their first one, but that could have been a massive, massive first series win of conference play. You let it slip out of your hands a few different times. It's tough, but I think this team's legit. I think they have really good talent.
Yeah. Doesn't get a lot easier. They play Maryland on Tuesday, and then they have Texas State 3 games at home. So a tough 4-game stretch coming up. I've got some stuff going on Tuesday, unfortunately, because they play baseball and softball in College Park, which if I was not busy, I would absolutely be at those. But Maryland baseball, pretty good. Maryland softball. So softball team has a nice chance to beat them. Softball avoiding the sweep against Texas State, which I think is solid. Texas State, I think they had an RPI in the top 15 nationally coming into that series. So that's good to avoid the sweep. I think the same thing with them, right? Both Diamond teams got to see some Sunbelt series victories to really believe in the NCAA regional hopes.
Yeah, for sure. You know what win's starting to look a lot better for JMU too?
Arkansas.
The Virginia Tech win.
Virginia Tech playing well?
Yeah, Virginia Tech's playing very well.
Did the women's team definitely not get into the WBIT, or did they get in? Or that's at 9:30. Okay.
Yeah, that selection show has not happened.
That's late. I guess that makes sense. But
keep it locked to our Twitter for WBIT updates for where the women will be playing if they get selected into the WBIT. Shout out App State. The NIT selection show is about to start. Have fun watching that one. We've already enjoyed the NCAA selection.
Huge
show.
congrats to them. Dusty Kern's an unbelievable coach. I've seen some people linking him to West Virginia, which would make almost too much sense, right?
Too much sense. Honestly, I did see him in Morgantown the other weekend looking for houses.
Yeah, I think Dusty makes sense for pretty much every opening as far as like if you had to take a Sunbelt coach.
Especially because like I know a lot of people are like, it's either Dusty Kearns or Mark Byington if we can't get Dust. Yeah, it's one or the other. It's one or the other. I think Dusty's better, just like miles better.
Record speaks for itself this year, right? 2 wins, 2 head-to-head wins.
Yeah, that's big time.
I'm a firm believer that Mark Byington could benefit from another 2 to 3 decades in Harrisonburg.
Oh, okay.
Just to really hone his craft.
Should he get the Kevin Keats deal after this year, a lifetime contract like the NC State fans are asking for Kevin Keats?
Shout out Kevin Keats. Good for him.
That's my favorite thing. NC State fans literally 5 days ago wanting him to be fired on the tarmac to giving him a lifetime contract after winning the ACC title.
What an electric run. This is March. I'm excited. It's going to be a great game. Do you think that Duke, well, probably, right? So if Duke plays the early game and Duke beats Vermont, you're probably going to have some Duke fans who stay to root for the Dukes. I kind of feel like it could be a pro JMU crowd. Yeah, I think they'd want the mid-major.
I think JMU's going to travel very well to this game too.
I do too.
I think they're going to travel better than, not better than Wisconsin, because
Wisconsin travels well, but it'll be I think the atmosphere for this is going to be nuts, especially since it's like 10 o'clock on a Friday.
Maybe I got to find my way up to Brooklyn for this.
That's what people are saying.
9:40 is such a late tip.
Somebody will fill in Saturday on Queens Volleyball.
I'll just fly home after the game on Friday night, Saturday morning.
There you go.
But this is March. Bennett, when do we sleep?
In May, it's a little confused what we're allowed to do in the second half of April, but I guess in May.
I've always thought that. This has gone off the rails here at the end. I've always thought that when Rothstein says we sleep in May, I'm like, brother, the national championship is like April 8th.
Have you seen Lenardi, though?
Yeah,
he's posting his like inaccurate seed lists before the Mountain West games are tipping off. And it's like, stay up, my man. Cutting out. Probably big Lenardi.
There you are. You're back. Oh, wait.
Am I back? Am I back?
There you are.
Yeah. I try to fucking ESPN try to cut me out. I go off on their bracketologists. No, but I just think he should stay up for the Mountain West games. And it would be nice if he got accurate results. He's like, oh, Virginia won. Good win for them. It's like, really? Because they're in overtime right now. Because they don't foul. They're up 3.
Did you see his tweet today where he's like, only 2 days away, or maybe it was a few days ago. He goes, 2 days away, actually 2 hours away from my year being done, and I can go golf again.
What is this guy doing?
I'm like, my man, you literally work for 2 weeks a year.
Yeah, the bracketologies he does normally are like once a week or like twice a week. That's easy.
Just let us do it. They're doing a lot of layoffs over at ESPN. Lenardi gone.
We would be
Jack
happy
and
to
Bennett
do it.
fill in.
I would be happy to talk trash about Virginia's bubble chances on television.
And be wrong because they made it as a first 4 team. It's insane that they're an at-large, and JMU wouldn't have been. It's insane that UVA is an at-large and Indiana State isn't in the tournament.
They're disgusting to watch. Like, respectfully, they kind of suck.
Kind of.
We'll talk crap about.
Oh no, big UVA's taking out Bennett. Big UVA's taking out Bennett. Okay, he's back, I think.
Come on.
Are you holding your phone close? All right. This is March. We sleep in May. Bennett's gone off the rails. Dukes play Wisconsin Friday, 9:40 p.m. on on CBS.
How dare you?
My bad. The joint ventures between CBS and Turner. How could I do that? We'll be back with more content. Follow along at JMU Sports News. This has been the JMU Sports News podcast presented by Bet Online. A little bit of an emergency edition to break down the Dukes' first appearance in the NCAA tournament since 2013. Thank you all for tuning in. See ya.